guys, welcome to Priceless B Movies. I'm your host, Colin Price. A few weeks ago I did a special video that was my top 10 movie moments of 2016, and I know that it's taken me forever to go ahead and get this video going, but this is my, yang to the yin, this is my top 10 worst movie moments of the last year. This video is going to be about the sequences in films that I felt that even if the film was really good, these parts weren't, these scenes weren't, these ideas weren't, whatever it is, something about this film, a moment in the film, that just drags down every other part of it. Wanted to jump ahead right into this thing, but want to give you a couple of disclaimers first, the same two disclaimers that I put in my previous video. One, just because a movie gets on this list doesn't mean that I don't like the movie. There are movies on this list that I just flat out don't like, but there are some movies that I do like, and just this one scene or this one moment, this one line, whatever it is, just kind of dragged it down for me. So in some cases, it's the movie I didn't like, and this is just a shining example of what I think is wrong with it. Or it's a movie that I do like, but I just don't really care for this part. Second disclaimer I'm going to offer you is because I will be talking about specific scenes in these films, I am going to put up a spoiler warning. I will tell you flat out before each one what movie it is. If you haven't seen that movie, you might just want to skip to the next one, because I will be ruining sequences in these movies. Alright, let's go ahead and get started with number 10. Conjuring Continuity, The Conjuring 2. Now those of you that follow my page on any kind of regular basis, or at least if you've been following it since kind of the beginning, know that I did a video on the first Conjuring, which I kind of, well, how do I put it nicely? Shit all over it. Because I hate the first Conjuring, like with a passion. I think that there's some great performances in it, and the cinematography is really good, but the story makes no sense, and all they did was cram a bunch of jump scares into an old farmhouse. I do not like that film. I've tried multiple times to like it, to watch it, and to try to get something new out of it, or try to understand why people like it. It's just one of those movies that's always going to escape me. I can't stand that film. That being said, I really did enjoy The Conjuring 2, which is amazing to me because I almost didn't even give it a chance because I really didn't like the first one. But the second one, they had fewer jump scares, the performances were even better, and some of the effects were kind of cool. It was just overall a creepier movie in my mind. But there is one glaring issue right at the beginning of the film. They have the Warrens, and they're in Amityville, and Lorraine, played by Vera Farmiga, has this vision, this horrific vision of this demonic nun and all this crap going down in the house. And that's all well and good, except that the timeline's kind of screwed up. If you guys remember, at the end of the first Conjuring, the film ends with Patrick Wilson's character, Ed Warren, getting the phone call summoning them to go to Amityville, and the idea being, okay, well maybe that'll be the next movie. And sure enough, Amityville does play a part in The Conjuring 2, only The Conjuring 2, the timeline's messed up because it says that they were in Amityville several years ago, and then the events of the first Conjuring happened, and now we're here in the second. It really doesn't add up. And I don't know if anyone else caught that, but it really bothered me for a good deal of the second movie. It took me a little bit to get back into the movie after that. But, as I said before, I did get back into it, and I really did enjoy it. But I hope I'm not the only one who caught how ridiculous that timeline is. Number 9. Belly Dancing Witch, Suicide Squad. Now, Suicide Squad is a movie that a lot of people really didn't like, but I loved. I got into just about every part of this movie. I thought it was fun. It was a lot like the comics. If you kind of forget the fact that the comics were quite a bit more violent than the movie is, it had that same kind of fun feel to it that the comic books do. I just got such a kick out of Margot Robbie and Jared Leto and Viola Davis, even Will Smith, and I'd kind of all but given up on him the last few years, but no, he was really good in it. So, I'm one of the people who actually liked that film, and I know that there's only, 7 of us out there. But I gotta say, I really didn't have too many problems with it. Now, I've heard a lot of complaints about Suicide Squad, and I've read a lot of really negative reviews, and it seems to me that the people who like to pick at it really like to nitpick at it. Like, the things people complain about are things like, really, that's what ruins the movie for you? Like the Joker having tattoos. So many people will be like, oh, I hate the tattoos, that's so stupid. The Joker from the comics would never have tattoos. But for all the complaints that I hear about that film that just kind of blow my mind, There's definitely one that I can agree with, and that's the villain. Cara Delevingne as the Enchantress was an abomination. I really don't like too many things about her performance or how they portrayed the character. I like kind of some of the horror aspects and the supernatural aspects, how they designed the character early on. But later on in the film, when she's basically just wearing next to nothing and, you know, belly dancing around this mystical cloud of crap, I'll agree that that's pretty dumb. Now, I did recently read an interview where Cara Delevingne came out and she was asked about that scene and why she's kind of moving her body all weird during this. And her explanation was that, you know, she's a witch and there's this powerful force around her and her body's just kind of jerking because this power is kind of running in and out of her and it just kind of looks weird. And, you know, that's fine. I guess that's a reasonable explanation. Still looks pretty damn weird, though. Number 8. Captain America Civil War. That's right, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be that guy that puts an MCU movie on a top 10 worst anything list of the year. Because you know what, while a lot of people will fanboy about the MCU, what really bugs me is that they make a lot of movies. Not only do they make a lot of mistakes in these movies, but they make the same mistakes in every movie. And one of the biggest mistakes they make, well, I was just talking about Suicide Squad and how it had a really weak villain. Marvel does that all the time. And what really irritates me is that they'll take these great villains from the comics, like Red Skull, like Ultron, you know, like Crossbones in Civil War, and do nothing with them. Crossbones, one of the coolest Captain America villains, and they kill him in 5 minutes. And there's nothing about his death. I mean, you could argue that later on in the film, it's like, oh, well, his death kind of sets in motion everything because there was the explosion. But that's kind of a dumb thing to do. Why didn't they just have some no-name terrorist be the guy who sets off the explosion? Keep Crossbones. He's a great villain. Why did you feel the need to discard him so quick? God, thank God for Doctor Strange. Otherwise, you guys would be like over right now. Number 7. Pull Over. Nocturnal Animals. So Nocturnal Animals is just a weird movie altogether. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal and Amy Adams, and they had a relationship at one point, but it kind of went south because she felt like she could do better, and you know, it really messed him up. And he writes a screenplay that's this really kind of sad, depressing, really grim crime story called Nocturnal Animals, and he sends it to Amy Adams, and she reads it, and as she's reading it, we see it play out. So it's this neat kind of film within a film thing. My problem is that during this film within a film, it opens with a husband, also played by Jake Gyllenhaal, driving his wife and daughter real late night in the countryside, and you know, they end up getting into it. This other car ends up chasing them, and it's full of these kind of thugs, these punks who, you know, these kind of guys that you wouldn't want to be around. But what does Jake Gyllenhaal do? He pulls the car over. So the punks get out of their car, come up, they start, you know, kind of harassing the family, being real creepy, and it's this several minute sequence, and the whole time I gotta sit there wondering, why the hell doesn't Jake Gyllenhaal speed away? He kind of lets everything happen. Eventually, these guys kidnap his wife and daughter and leave him stranded, and for about 10 minutes he had every opportunity to just drive away, and he didn't. I have a big problem with thrillers that don't make sense, and it does not make sense to me why anybody in Jake Gyllenhaal's situation in that story would just sit there while these guys are harassing him and his family and not make any attempt to escape. I mean, seriously, what the hell is that? Number 6, Jolly Rancher, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Now, I actually had a hard time with this one because, honestly, just about any scene with Jesse Eisenberg in Batman v Superman could have made it onto this list. But I'm going to go with the really kind of offbeat moment where he's trying to sweet-talk a senator into letting him have Zod's body and all this other crap that he wants and access to the spaceship. And at the end of their bartering, he takes a cherry Jolly Rancher and puts it in this guy's mouth, and it's this really weird scene because it's kind of like, is this supposed to be homoerotic? Like he's giving the guy something sweet, or what is it? I have no idea what the symbolism of that action was supposed to be. But just about everything about the Lex Luthor character in this movie is absolutely terrible. And you know, here, P.S. Am I the only one who watched Jesse Eisenberg in that movie and just could not stop thinking about how much he kind of reminded me of Jim Carrey's Riddler in Batman Forever? I mean, seriously, these two don't look alike to anybody. What the hell? Number 5, crappy cameo, Ghostbusters. Now, before I get into this, once again, kind of like Suicide Squad, I'm one of the few that actually liked the Ghostbusters remake. Do I think it's as good as the original? No, but I think it's better than the second one was, and it was a lot of fun. I laughed a lot during this movie, and I think that a lot of people were just totally unwilling to give it a chance, kind of like Suicide Squad. Once again, a lot of people didn't want to give this film an opportunity to work. They were out to get it from the beginning. It was the most hated video on YouTube when the trailer came out, before anyone had even seen more than a minute and a half of footage. It was ridiculous. One thing I will say that I couldn't stand about the film is how they decided they had to force all of the original cast from the first Ghostbusters into the movie, because ultimately a lot of the cameos they're not necessary. And the biggest waste was Bill Murray. You brought him in, and basically he's playing the dick from the first Ghostbusters. You know, he's out to say, oh, there are no ghosts and these people are con artists and yada yada yada. Only he looks sad, to be honest. Murray looks like he really doesn't want to be in this movie, and it totally brought me out, totally bummed me out. At least when you see Dan Aykroyd and Sigourney Weaver later on in their respective cameos, they look like they were having some fun with it. Number 4, Marco Polo, Don't Breathe. Don't Breathe is a new movie from the guy who did that god-awful Evil Dead remake a couple of years ago. And in this film, he's got 3 thieves who are going to break into this house where this blind guy lives, and they're going to rob him. To throw a pun out there, they're going to rob him blind. Anyway, they get in the house and realize that this old blind man is actually an old blind badass. It's one of those things that's almost like Daredevil, only he's like a serial killer, and he has heightened sense of smell and sound, and he's hunting the kids through the house, and that's the basic gist of the film. Now, my problem is, once you've kind of put this idea out that this guy, this sick blind guy, has all these heightened senses and heightened states of awareness, it's inconsistent. It's really inconsistent. Like, he can hear someone move in a room like 3 rooms over, but then when this like sweaty, panicked girl is right in front of him trying to like creep in front of him, he can't smell that. Or like he can hear someone real far away at one point, but then they're like around the corner in the hall walking and there's floorboards creaking and the blind guy can't hear that. They really flip-flop on exactly how good this guy's other senses are. And it seems more like a plot device than anything that's really that scary. And it totally took me out of the film for, well, most of it. Number 3, Master of Disguise. Not. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Fantastic Beasts is another movie that I really enjoyed. My fiance and I really loved it. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, not like a fanboy, but just I like those movies. And of the books I've read, I really do enjoy them. Fantastic Beasts I wasn't really that familiar with. I only kind of knew basically what it was. But when she and I saw the movie, we both got a big kick out of it. And there's only one thing about that film that really bothers me, and that's at the very end. So, as I offered the disclaimer, spoiler alert, at the very end, Colin Farrell's character, Graves, who's been kind of a dick to everyone the whole movie, turns out to be Gellert Grindelwald, the dark wizard in Europe that everyone was so afraid of. Turns out he's been in America this whole time, posing as Colin Farrell's character. And there's a bit at the end where Farrell is captured and, there's a spell cast and he transforms into Grindelwald, and it's the reveal, like, oh, he's been that guy the whole time. And, that's all well and good, but, there's a couple things wrong with this, I think. One, it's not really a twist. In fact, I don't know how anyone couldn't have expected this, because it just narratively makes sense that he would actually be the villain, and not just a jerk, but the main villain of the storyline. It makes perfect sense. The movie seems to be building to that. If you didn't notice that the first time, watch it again. Watch Colin Farrell. Watch the things he says to certain characters. The things he does. It's actually very apparent that he is this other character. But that aside, like logic aside, the CG really falters in this scene. During the transformation, when he turns into Grindelwald, who's played by Johnny Depp, and it's about the ugliest Johnny Depp's looked at anything in a long time. But when he transforms, it just looks off. There's a lot of great CG in this movie and a lot of great imagery, but this, I don't know what it was, but just something about that transformation really rubbed me the wrong way. Number 2, everything after the first 5 minutes, 31. That's right, people. I could have just as easily put 31 on my top 10 best movie moments and just talked about the first scene, because after the first scene of this movie, it goes to shit, and it goes to shit real fast. Seriously, what happened to Rob Zombie, man? I remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I loved his music. I had like all his albums up to that point, all the White Zombie albums. There were always these like real fun, I mean, if you were a horror fan, just listening to the lyrics of like Living Dead Girl or Dragula or Feel So Numb, like you got lost in kind of the... all the passionate verses and the references to all these great old horror and sci-fi movies. You know, I really dug Rob Zombie at the time. Then he made House of a Thousand Corpses, which I thought was pretty good, and then he did Devil's Rejects, which was amazing. And then what happened? He hasn't had a good album out in like almost a decade, and he hasn't had a good movie out in almost that long. 31 is basically a white trash basically a white trash version of The Running Man or Most Dangerous Game, where these really one-dimensional people are captured on Halloween and told that, okay, you have to survive the next 12 hours because we're going to set a bunch of killer clowns on you. That's actually what the movie is about. And it's just awful. I mean, the dialogue is never really clever or interesting. The characters are never really clever or interesting. And there's just all these logistical problems with the storyline. And, you know, the editing is awful. You can't even enjoy any of the action sequences because you can barely tell what the hell's going on. All of the music, almost all the music, is directly lifted from Suspiria. And I'm serious about that. If you ever watched 31, or if you have already, tell me that you don't hear Goblin score from Suspiria scattered throughout that whole film. Zombie completely ripped that off. The first 5 minutes, though, is really cool. You have the only interesting character in the movie, one of the killers, played by Richard Brake, and he has this really creepy monologue at the very beginning of the film, and it's the only good thing about the movie. Zombie, what the hell are you doing? Get your head out of your ass and start making good stuff again. Number 1. I'm a Cop. Hush. There's something that's been really bugging me lately on Rotten Tomatoes and with a lot of critics in general, where I'll find that there's this horror movie and it's getting fantastic reviews. Like on Rotten Tomatoes, like, you know, high 80s, 90 percentile, approval from critics, and I get all excited, like, oh, this must be really good. And then I watch the movie, I'm like, this is one of the dumbest pieces of shit I've seen in a long time. Case in point, Hush, a movie about a guy who just for whatever reason is out for a stroll in the country killing people, and he happens upon this deaf woman's house and decides to stalk her for 90 minutes. Not kidding. Hush is a god-awful abortion of a film that for some reason a lot of very pretentious people decided to tout as one of the best thrillers of the year. And, there is a good movie hiding in this film, but it's completely overshadowed by the fact that literally 4 or 5 minutes can't go by without the deaf woman or the killer doing something really, really stupid that no one in that situation would actually do. And after a while, I got really tired of scenes where like the deaf woman would get her hands on a weapon or something and just discard it, or just drop it and run, it's absurd. She has so many chances throughout the film to get the upper hand, and she always just kind of, no, not that. We got 40, 50 minutes still left in this movie. It can't be that easy. But the worst scene in this crap fest of dumb people making dumb decisions has to be the scene where the deaf woman's friend's boyfriend comes to the house and this killer shows up. Now, let me paint you a picture. This guy, this killer, he's dressed like a freaking hunter. He's wounded. He's bleeding down his arm and his hand. He's got no gun. He's got no badge. He's got no partner. He's got no squad car out in the middle of the country. But he shines a flashlight on the boyfriend and goes, "I'm a cop. Raise your hands." And the guy does it. He's like, "Oh man, hey, what are you doing?" Are you fucking kidding me? This is a dumb fucking movie that's liked by people who don't realize what a dumb fucking movie it is. Worst scene of the year, worst movie of the year by far. That's my list of the top 10 worst movie moments of the year. I hope you enjoyed it as much as my last list, and stay tuned because I got a bunch more reviews coming for you guys. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Priceless B movies.